Episode
Loaded
9
Sport.
of...
Does he sit second, man?
No, I don't think he does. I think Kevin Keegan probably sits second.
Oh my God, what a scandal.
Austin Eckler versus the Cards. Go and fuck the lot of you.
God, Eckler.
He's making me like I'm some sort of cameo, like I've come in and go, hand out the bag, England to win.
Hello and welcome to episode 22 of Loaded Sport, where today we are going to be reviewing wildcard weekend of the NFL season, as well as that the latest in the world of UFC, and both the Manchester Derby and the North London Derby took place this past weekend. Joining me to go through this are three gents that know quite a lot about what they do. In fact, more than what I actually know over this last couple of weeks, as it's proven on our locks and wildcards. We're also going to be telling you how that's gone this past weekend. I'm going to start by introducing him first for the similar sort of reason. As I've said to myself, I'm going to do it. Skin, how are you?
I've no idea what that was supposed to mean, but yeah, I'm alright, mate. How are you?
Basically, mate, what happened? And last week, I came over to you first, and you simply just said the word no. You've got nothing to say to me, because every time I go to introduce Sam and Kemp first, you just get involved anyway. So I thought I'll come to you first. That way, you can talk freely when I introduce the other two as well.
That's actually incorrect reporting, Journo. I didn't say no. I told you to fuck off. But anyway, I'll let you crack on.
I preferred hearing no than fuck off. Although I'm going to hear a lot of it throughout the next
Don't matter
hour,
what you prefer
sure.
or not, mate. You just got to report it accurately, haven't you?
No, I don't. You misunderstand what journalists do. Moving on, Sam, are you all right?
I'm good, mate. How's yourself?
I'm very good, thank you. In a bit of a better mood, despite the fact that it's the beginning of the week. But I've got a nice weekend to relax and chill this weekend, so I'm kind of looking forward to just getting work out of the way. Yeah.
Save it. Save the reason why.
I want to know now. Fuck saving it. Why?
Because I'm not at work on Saturday.
Oh, good lad.
There we go.
I don't know why he thinks he's chilling. No, we're going to be in
Anyway,
Newcastle.
I'm gonna
We'll
say,
save that for
Jesus,
the
gonna say fucking
weekend.
hell.
Save that
preview.
for the weekend preview.
Ah.
And last but by no means least, Mr. Kemp, how are you?
Mr. Dawson, Mr. White, man with the mic. How are we doing?
Very good, thank you. Yourself?
Yeesh.
Oh, yeah, I'm alright,
Save
thank
it.
you.
Don't blow your load too
Yeah, I'm
early,
alright,
mate.
thank you.
Come
Yeah,
on.
I'm good, mate, thank you. Yeah,
Save it for the main event.
Oh, God.
We'll start by talking about the Manchester Derby that took place on Saturday afternoon and the controversial aspect of this, including Manchester United's, I believe it's their second goal that you're wanting to talk about, but the first is, I'd say,
First, you Mongol.
take it away.
What we're taking away, mate? The first or second goal?
Do what you
What's the
fucking want.
question?
Do what you want.
Oh,
Right,
mate,
the
come
first
on,
goal. A lot
come
of talk about the first goal
goal,
being offside.
right.
I've
So-
watched the video and
Me-
I'll tell you my opinion a little bit later. I want to hear from you guys first
Save
before
it.
I tell you mine. Yeah, save
Go
it
on,
till
Sam.
later.
Mm.
And as to why I was a bit unsure about whether you wanted me to talk about the first or the second, but Sam,
Yeah, shut up then.
I'll
You've
start
already
with
brought me
you.
in, mate. Shut up. You're rambling on now.
Shut up.
So is offside, isn't he? It's offside. It's absolutely criminal that has been given or not being given, should I say? So what happened was, through ball comes through. Rashford runs onto the through ball without touching it. Pulls a couple of City defenders to readjust. Keeper's then got to kind of stay in line with Rashford. It doesn't touch it. Ball comes through. Carries on playing. Bruno slots it home. Great finish. Lino gives the goal. The referee overrules the goal. Then it goes to VAR for a couple of seconds. Comes back. United have been given the goal. There's no way he does not interfere with play. So his very presence of being there is drawing the City centre half. I forget his name. Is the City centre half?
Angie.
Akanji, that's right. Yeah, he's being in position because of Rashford's positioning. Edison has to obviously stay in line for Rashford because in case he hits it first time, if he's stood clearly offside like it used to be, the defender would kind of just leave him be and just, everyone knows it's offside. You can't touch it, otherwise it's a free kick. That doesn't happen. They have to keep playing, and the goal was given, which, letter of the law, it is. I mean, they brought Peter Walton in, and he did say it is a goal. They recently changed the rules, and that if it doesn't touch the ball, he is deemed onside. Or the other guy is deemed onside. He's not interfering with play, should I say? So, letter of the law, the goal should stand, but realistically, it's just overcomplicating the game for me, and it's just blatantly it is offside for me. What do you reckon, Dawson? Because I think you've got a bit of a different opinion.
Yes and no. Do I think that it should be offside? Yes. But, Kem, if you could just give me a quick Ted Hastings, the letter of the law impression for me, please.
The letter of the law.
By the letter of the law and those rules and laws that have changed over the years, as you mentioned there, Sam, it is not classed as offside because he didn't touch the ball, which I don't necessarily agree with, because I completely agree with you, Sam. Had he not been in the position that he was in, the defenders and the movements that they make to get to the ball is different. Edison is obviously different in terms of his awareness of where he might need to go or who might take the ball next. So,
of course,
he's definitely interfered with the ball. Do I care? Obviously not.
No. Why would you?
By the letter of the law, that's not Rashford's fault. That's not Bruno's fault. That's not City United's fault or anybody on the pitch's fault. That's how, like you said it again yourself, Sam. They've overcomplicated it, and United have benefited from that rule, and they won't be the last team to do that. But it's
I think they will. I honestly think that.
Yeah.
I think that's the sort of goal that will change rules. I think they'll have to go back and look at that rule for that exact goal. I don't think that'll happen ever again. I think they'll have to make some kind of rule mid-season change.
So what do you think? So on the back of that, then, what do you think they should do, and what do you think they should change the rule to avoid that happening again? Because you said that by the letter of the law that it should be a goal because that's what it is. But what's your if you were sat down with the FA and making the rules tomorrow and changing the law, what would you change it to?
So I think they just go back, revert to one stage back to what they had it as. So they've only recently changed it where as long as he doesn't touch the ball, he's not blocking keeper's sight, is not interfering with play. That shouldn't be a case. We've seen in that game there's various different positions you can be on the football field, and that still have an effect on the game whether you're onside or offside. So for me, it's just does he interfere with play? Yes or no? Yes, he does. Everyone can see that, and he's offside. But because of this technicality that they've changed the rules to, well, he didn't touch the ball and he's not blocking the keeper's view, is not onside. He's not affecting play, but he is. So for me, that has to be removed and to go back to the stage they did beforehand, where it's just is he affecting the play? Yes, he is. The defender's having to move about. Is offside, and that I think is quite a simple.
Do you think it's too harsh to say? Do you think it's too harsh to say that Akanji in that situation? Obviously, he's played Rashford offside. So, well, the City back line have played Rashford offside, so they know he's offside.
Yeah.
But then they can see Fernandes running in and looking as though he's going to shape up to have the shot. At that point, do you not focus all your attention on Bruno, leave Rashford because you already know he's offside, and make sure that you block that shot because Bruno is not offside and you already know that Rashford is because you played him off?
I'll take that one.
Go on.
Well, the fact that Akanji had Rashford between him and the ball says everything about whether or not Rashford was interfering with play, because in terms of having all your focus, if the ball is through on goal and Bruno is through on goal and he's got a clear sight of goal and an opportunity to score, obviously you can never say without actually knowing for sure, but you've got to imagine that Akanji absolutely fucking full sprints.
Could Kyle Walker have done better?
Potentially, but that's not affecting the offside decision. You can only discuss based on what side.
No, and again, I'm not saying
I disagree, which is the side that Akanji was on, and in Rashford being where he was and doing what he did has an impact on what Akanji is able to do, because Akanji can't just shove Rashford over or go through the back of him to get to Bruno, because he can't. But he certainly can't run full pace to Bruno and try and get a slide in front of the wall to get some kind of block in it, because Rashford's right there. So I don't think Walker's relevant to the conversation of impact that Rashford's had and things like that.
But I'm not specifically talking about that, because I actually agree with you. I agree that it's offside, and I agree that that's what it should be.
It's not offside
because Rashford has it. Well, it's offside. We all agree that it should be offside,
but it's not offside.
But we all right then.
It should be, but it's not.
Well, then why are you being a dick then? Why are you being a fucking dick then?
Because it should be offside. Because
let him get to his fucking point. Jesus Christ.
Jesus, fucking mute this cunt. But my point is that I think the City defenders can do a little bit better, and I think they've just thrown their hands up in the air. Well, Rashford's offside. Yes, Akanji couldn't have got back across. I think Kyle Walker could have done a little bit better, and I think they'll be disappointed with that. it's a difficult situation. It's a difficult rule, and I do agree with you both that it does need to be changed back. But I think regardless, it's disappointing from City's point of view because I think they could have done more. Maybe not Akanji, but maybe definitely Walker could have.
But that's the whole point now. So it's literally all on Akanji. So I've seen someone photoshopped a picture of just removing Rashford from the picture, and you can see it. Akanji, I mean, obviously in a still frame, it's a bit hard to tell. But if Rashford isn't there, like Dawson said, Akanji can just come straight through and slide.
He takes him away.
That in itself is saying he's interfering with play. So you can say City's defence should have done better. Of course, they should have done better. They've allowed a through ball to get in behind them for a start. So there's that. But someone doing better shouldn't have anything to do with whether it's offside or not. It's offside.
It's offside anyway. That's not what I'm saying, and maybe I've not communicated that particularly well. It should be offside. It wasn't offside. It's unfortunate, and I'm sure Eric Ten Hag said that he would have felt hard done to if it had gone the other way. Yeah. But 100%. You've got to look at it from a perspective of right. Okay, well, it wasn't offside, so what can we do better? And that's what Pep will be doing. He'll be looking at what could we have done better in that situation, taking out the offside piece of it because he'll want no excuses. So yes, I completely agree with everything you've said, but I do still think that Kyle Walker needs to probably do better in that situation, but it's unfortunate.
You say that, but in Pep's interview after, I don't know if
he's not going to say that to the press, though, is he?
No. What I'm saying is, if you caught it, he'd completely given up with football at this point. He'd said, "I'm no longer interested with Premier League." We turned up. We've played like this the last 5 times we've played Man United, and we've beat them. We've not done anything wrong as such. We've just turned up and been ourselves, and we've ended up losing game. And I no longer care about the Premier League. So he's completely just thrown his hands up like.
I think there's definitely a point of that where he's sort of come out and said, blamed it on the decision. I'm not interested in title anymore. It's gone. To try and maybe get into his players' heads, saying, right, come on, let's show Gaffer that it's not gone.
He has done this before, though.
When he says, we've done everything we can, they had one shot on target.
Yeah,
they weren't very good. So he's straight away he's bullshitting from that.
I bet they can't wait for Haaland coming back.
I know, innit?
Absolutely non-existent, that guy.
Yeah. Luke Shaw had deep pockets, didn't he? Aggie, what are your thoughts, mate?
No, I agree with what you said.
Being a traditional man.
No, I agree with what you said. He's offside, and if he's interfering with play from an offside position, whether that's making an attempt to go to the ball or like obviously he backs off at the last minute, doesn't he, to allow Bruno to take the shot, but he's already made the attempt to go for the ball.
Done at that point.
Yeah, so for me, the flag's got to go up and he's got to be regarded as offside. And it amazes me, and this is what I was telling you the other week about VAR, how VAR can still make these sort of errors and still raise these talking points.
But they haven't made an error.
It's not an error.
VAR haven't made an error. The law, as we've just said, the letter says that he is onside. So
that's
VAR haven't made an error. VAR have made the right decision. It's the rule that's wrong, Adam.
Yeah, 100%. It's a correct decision.
I wonder where the line is. We'll not get too much into the NFL sort of spiel, but just for your benefits of where I'm going with this, the hard count at the line of scrimmage, which I think Drew Brees was probably the best and the biggest at sort of trying to utilise.
I'm not having that. Aaron Rodgers all day.
Well, either or, of trying to fake that count to make someone make a move. If you apply that to the Rashford situation, and we're saying he's not, he's running towards the ball and then he moves away at the last second. Where's the line? If he'd have took a fake swing at the ball with no intention of trying to make contact with it, is that still like part of it? If he'd have backed off a little bit to get even further in the way of Akanji, like it seems a very grey area of what this new rule is. Because I don't think Rashford could have, if he'd have done anything literally any more, then surely they would have had to call him offside. I don't really know where more or what more leeway he had in that situation. So
where's the line?
This is where I've got to agree with Kemp on the Kyle Walker situation, because as that ball's coming through, yes, Akanji can't get there, but Kyle Walker as a defender, you've just got to point blank get there and get rid of that fucking ball. Let the linesman, let the referee sort out whether it was offside or not after. First protocol,
he played to the whistle, 100%.
Rashford was about a good 3 steps offside. Like when the ball first got played through to him, it was about 3 steps offside, and it was blatant. You could see him go through.
Where's the line on the other side, though? As Dawson just mentioned, how much interference does he have to make for them to call it offside? But at the same time, if you do change the rule back to where it was, if he stood in an offside position, the ball gets played through and he doesn't even move, and then Bruno runs up the left-hand side and picks up the ball from the ball that was originally going to go to Rashford. How do they flag that? Because this rule is all a massive grey area, and it's all about opinions and perspective. There's no one thing you can say with this particular rule that, or this particular situation that says, right, he's interfering with play and he's not. How do you define interfering with play? And I think that's what we really need to look at.
Really needs to get ironed out, doesn't it? One set rule, because since they've started messing about with the rule, there's been so many grey areas with it, you can't get a definitive answer. And like you've already said, if you're blocking the goalkeeper's view, you're offside. But then in this situation, you're not.
So what do you do then? Do you say if anybody's offside when the ball's played, it's offside?
If you're making a conscious attempt to either get to interfere with play, so whether that's to go for the ball, whether that's to block somebody, then yeah, I'd say that's offside. So like from free kick situations where you see somebody stood in front of the goalkeeper, if you're interfering from that aspect and you're blocking the goalkeeper's view, yes, you're offside. If you make a run to the ball from an offside position, yes, you're offside. That's what I feel the offside rule should be, because you're impacting play from the moment you're making that decision to go for it.
Yeah, I must say, Andy Goldstein from TalkSport made an interesting point earlier in defence for it, and he said, a big United fan, surprise, surprise. And he said, technically, if you're an attacker on a football pitch, if you're offside in any regard, you are interfering with play to some of the opposition. Some of the opposition, you being where you are on the field will affect their mannerism, just will affect the goalkeeper's stance, whether it stands a couple of stands to the left or to the right, anticipating a tapping, maybe at back post if you're offside. So an offside can technically impact, you can be impacting the play anywhere on the field if you're offside. I'm babbling here, but we're essentially saying that you can be offside anywhere, and not particularly where Rashford was, and still affect the opposition. So yeah, I guess that is where the grey area.
That's exactly my point. Is that if you've got somebody out on the left-hand side who's offside by an inch, and that means that they're taking the right back out of the game, so that they're not maybe covering on the inside for the centre back who's maybe gone forward and committed, then where do you draw the line? So it's a very, very difficult rule. I don't envy the rule makers with this particular one, but going back to what you said there, Adam, unfortunately, and I know you've got a vendetta against VAR, but it did its job and the goal was allowed, and so it should have been, thanks to the rule book.
Yeah. Well, that was United against City, where United walked out 2-1 winners, giving Arsenal a chance on Sunday.
Apart from that, though, I don't want to just all talk about the offside, because United actually played really well. So it seems like we're diminishing the point of United winning by just talking about the offside. So going on record to say that they played really well, and they thoroughly deserved the win, I think. Yeah,
he's doing a brilliant job, ETH. Yeah, what fair play to you, Kemp, saying that, because we was quickly about to paper over that, and there was absolutely brilliant. To be fair, Luke Shaw,
it's just definitely worth mentioning, because I think it's 5 wins in a row or even more. I think it might be 8 wins now. 8 wins in a row now, I think. So, and against Man City, they've not been 100%, but yeah, I mean, you were just about to come on to your Luke Shaw point. I'll not take it away from you. Played him at centre back again. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously everyone was saying, they've only played Forest, they've only played Wolves when he played centre half. Well, now they've played probably the most informed striker on the planet, and he had, like you say, they had one shot on target between them all, and he were non-existent. So fair play to from 1 to 11. They were absolutely. I say 1 to 11. Actually, I do think De Gea was a little bit suspect with a couple of his kicks, giving possession away quite sloppy. But other than that,
it's his weak point in his game, and it is his footwork and distribution. It's one of the main reasons why, especially since Eric Ten Hag come in and he was changing sort of the style of play, that the keeper position was something that they were looking at with.
I think he's potentially, his position's not exactly safe. I wouldn't have thought if they can get a new one in. No, but I thought
Bruno's all they need. Trust me.
Bruno obviously since he's been given captaincy, well, not given deputy captain, but we don't see Maguire anymore, and Ronaldo's gone, so he's not in his shadow anymore. I just think he's come on leaps and bounds, and he's just a completely different player than when Ronaldo were in the team. It's up and down all the time. So, defensive work outstanding, attacking, his range of passing is just outstanding as well, and obviously got the decent little finish. Whether it should have been offside or not, who knows? But
you mentioned Bruno there. But you mentioned Bruno there. You look at, you've mentioned Luke Shaw already. Luke Shaw Delo's playing much better than
Mate,
he ever has in
Wan-Bissaka, by the
United
way,
shirt.
phenomenal.
Oh,
on Saturday.
mate,
Yes.
honest to
Phenomenal.
God, the amount of players that have been there for, Ranić, maybe some even Mourinho.
Yeah.
You've got Rashford, Martial, all these players that have been there. Fred, since a really bad regime or a couple of really bad regimes at United, Ten Hag's come in and he's not changed them. He can't change them as players. It's just this is what happens when you bring good coaching into a sports team. And that's exactly what's happened. They're actually being coached. They're not just being.
I'm sure we'll get onto that point again later on about it takes a good coach and all that.
There you go. But that's the point. The point stands. These players have been playing for regimes where they couldn't buy a win. The football was horrendous and the feeling was terrible. But they brought a coach in who's actually working with the players, actually knows what he's talking about. He's not a fucking PE teacher that just wants to build a mate. And he's brought back discipline. He's brought back wanting to play fit shirt. And I mean, look at them, they're flying. So, props to Erik ten Hag.
Yeah, and they've got Arsenal this weekend as well. So another big game to follow up on.
Huge.
Arsenal have just come off the back of a 2-0 victory against Tottenham as well. And I think despite the fact that not too much battling was done on the pitch that we're familiar with North London derbies, post-match, Aaron Ramsdale got involved with something that happened with a supporter as well. So, Sam, I'm going to start with you on this one as well. Your thoughts on the situation after the game, and I want to talk more about the leadership that Arteta shown when he went onto the field to take the players away from the situation, because it didn't look like settling down at all, did it?
No, it didn't, and I must admit here, I didn't see any of the game. I only seen the fan kicking Ramsdale. What on earth is he doing there? Why? How was he got that close to the player? What are the stewards doing? Just an absolute twat. And now I'd like one of you lot to fill me in because
Yes,
what happened? What were Ramsdale doing before?
It was a goal kick. So it was a goal kick, I believe, for Arsenal. And Ramsdale was going to fetch the ball. Richarlison gave him a little bit of hammer as he was on his way to fetch the ball. And then Ramsdale went and got the ball, and the fan jumped over the advertising hoarding or whatever. And when Ramsdale bent over to pick the ball up, I believe he sort of kicked him in his back. It didn't do any damage. It was fucking
it went.
He needs a fucking He needs lessons on that.
Well, that's crazy then. So I essentially did see the entire incident. I just thought there must have been more to it because I did see Richarlison winding him up and getting his finger in his face and that, and I can't stand that twat anyway. But so I thought there must have been something, a precursor to that. So that was
Ramsdale were giving fans a bit of shit. They were giving him a bit of shit, and he just gave him like 2-0 with his hands like that. Right, but I can't remember who it was that I saw. That's going to do me in now. But it was footage of Keys and Andy Gray with Jason McAteer, wherever they're obviously doing punditry now. And Richard Keys, something like that. Richard Keys was basically saying that all the players have got to deal with it. Jason McAteer, obviously from a player perspective, was saying, you do not realise the level of stuff that fans will shout at you, about your family, stuff that you shouldn't be shouting to someone regardless of the environment or situation you're in. And you can't start then crying when players give it a bit back. And all Ramsdale did was just literally 2 with one hand and a 0 with the other. Didn't even do anything, a bit of a tongue-in-cheek, a bit of a smirk on that.
Walcott did it to him, didn't he? Not a couple of years back. He did exactly the same when he was stretching off.
Yeah. But I think Jason McAteer is absolutely right with that. Like fans, I've said before how it's one of the reasons why I fell out of football for so long was just the fans. Especially when you go to a couple of American football games and you feel the atmosphere and the environment and it's a great time.
Crowd.
You go to and you go to football and it's just a bunch of fucking idiots that want any excuse to start fighting for no reason whatsoever. They're the first ones to act like they're a big man, but then they're the first ones to start crying when someone gives them a tiny bit of something back as well. It's a bit of a fucking piss take, but
we've got Stone Island lad in here, don't you?
Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah, he were at it on Saturday, weren't it? Him and Dibben.
Scrapping like fuck.
I went at it. I was just enjoying watching him in his element, blessing me, right?
Up the blades.
I think up the blades. In all seriousness, something definitely needs to be done. I think I saw earlier today, and I don't know how true it is, that both 1 or 2 fans have been issued a lifetime ban. I think they might have identified who they are and issued them a ban.
I heard that they were forcing season tickets upon them.
Yeah,
punishment.
maybe, yeah. I think it needs to be stronger than that. I think teams need a really big fine, or I think it's difficult doing points deductions, but
Yeah.
a massive fine most definitely, because we've seen it on so many occasions in recent years. Oliver McBurney, just one of them, he just literally come out of court
Yeah.
for Sheffield
And that was
United
a
after
joke as
the
well.
incident on the pitch at Nottingham Forest in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Never
So
should have been there.
something needs to, it needs to be stronger. Something needs to happen, and we need to bring the law or something into the game that says, if you invade the field of play, and you interact with any players, if you assault any players or anything like that, then not only do you get a lifetime ban, but you get a massive fine, and also your
Prosecute
club
'em.
gets a massive
Yeah,
fine
prosecute
as well.
'em,
Yeah, no, absolutely right. It's assault at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course it is.
So prosecution, fines for the person, fines for the club, and they need to do that, because it's not acceptable. And no
No.
matter what, there's no excuse for entering the field of play and assaulting somebody, no matter who it is. So hopefully they're dealt with in the strongest possible manner.
100%.
Totally agree. It does leave Arsenal 8 points clear at the top of the league, though, ahead of Man City. They do have Man United this weekend. So the question I'm going to put towards you is, if Manchester United beat Arsenal this weekend, they will go just 6 points behind Arsenal. Does that mean there is an outside chance that United could join this title race?
If you don't mind, I'm going to jump on this first.
Yeah.
So, again, listening to TalkSport earlier, and they said with the World Cup obviously messing up the schedule slightly, if the World Cup hadn't have been there, we would be roughly around the 14th of December fixture-wise. Would you ask me that very same question if we was on the 14th of December in a normal fixture list and United were, say, 6 points off the top? What would you think? Would you think United 6 points behind with essentially over half a season left to play? Would you think they're in the title race?
Now, the
100%.
reason I ask it is because once they've played this game this weekend, that'll be 19. That'll be the exact halfway point of the fixtures. The reason I'm asking it is because everyone's been talking, it's Arsenal, Man City, it's Arsenal, Man City. One of those two are going to win it. United beat Man City this past weekend. If they beat Arsenal this upcoming weekend, the two teams that people have said are going to be battling for the championship this year have both lost to Manchester United, who are in a very good form at the moment, as we've already mentioned. So, is it realistic to think that there is an outside chance? If we can say Arsenal or
Of course there
Manchester
is.
City, then I think there's a very valid reason to say Manchester United could be a part of it, and why not ask that question?
Of course there is.
Can
My
I-
opinion.
Go on.
Go
Yeah.
on, go on, Dawson. Go on, Dawson.
I was just very, very quickly going to point out for context that let's not forget United are playing Palace this week. So
Yeah.
if they win that and then beat Arsenal, they'll be 3 points behind Arsenal. But Arsenal will have a game and just for full context coming out of that game on Sunday.
So
that was all.
what I'm going to add to that, in the sense of have they got an outside chance? No, I don't think they have. I think they've got a real chance. They've not got an outside chance. They've got a proper chance.
We're
People are
mixed.
forgetting, and Sam just completely nailed it there. We're on the 16th of January, and it's very, very strange that we've got 20 games to go.
Exactly.
We've not even played half the season yet. So people getting carried away about Arsenal, or people getting devastated about City, or people writing, Man United out of it just because they're, a few points off the top. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's been so many occasions where teams have been further behind than this, or just as far behind as this, and made that points gap up probably in fewer games, I would imagine. So
Yeah.
Easily.
there's no question in my mind as to whether it's a 3-horse race or not. It's 100% a 3-horse race in my opinion. I think Newcastle have probably struggled a little bit in recent weeks, and I don't think they're quite ready for it. And I did predict that before World Cup, and I'm glad that one of my predictions has come in right. But I definitely think it's a 3-horse race at this point. And City and Arsenal have still got to play each other twice, so that anything could happen there. There's a lot of points to be won and lost. So a 3-horse race, and I do hope that Manchester United can do it, but we'll have to see. Very exciting times.
Absolutely.
Arsenal only lost one game this season. That was to United. Newcastle, as you said there, they are still in the mix. They're 1 point behind City and level with United, but they've played one game more. They're not losing games because Newcastle as well have only lost one game this season, which is phenomenal, but they're drawing too many. They've drawn 8 games compared to City's 3 and Arsenal and United's 2. So that's where the difference is. And I suppose just that extra bit of quality that Newcastle are lacking at the minute in their overall squad. But
Just that bit of experience as well for me. It's Eddie Howe's never been in this position before. A lot of the players have never played in the league before. They understand the league, but they don't they don't quite get it. There'll probably be a few of them that are stepping out on St James's Park and thinking, "Chuffing hell, it's a bit cold." I'm probably not fancying it a bit at times. So yeah, I think maybe next year, if they're in the same position as they were now, I'd probably give them a little bit more credence. But they're very, very new to the top 4, top 6 scene for a long, long time since my man Kevin Keegan got them there. So yeah.
Just on the Arsenal City, as you said, they've got to play each other yet. They've actually still got to play each other twice. They've not played each other yet this season. So
Well, 3 times because they've got to play each other in FA Cup as well.
Obviously Cup. But in regards to the league, they haven't actually played each other yet. So they've still got both of them legs to come.
Exactly.
And United must be rubbing their hands together with that because
I believe they were due to play when the Queen passed away, and that's why the first game's not been played yet. I'm sure they were due to play.
And that's it. You look at it from that perspective, if City win both those games, God, it's a right can of worms, isn't it?
100%.
So it's a very exciting end to the season. Now, how good is it, regardless of who wins it or whatever, for it to be, potentially a 3-horse race and not just City out by 20 points or Liverpool out by 20 points or Man City and Liverpool out by 20 points.
I honestly can't remember. I honestly can't remember last time that were a 3-horse race.
It'll been a long time ago, wouldn't it?
You're probably going back to when Leicester won, won't you? When it was Leicester
Liverpool,
Leicester Spurs, Arsenal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Spurs finished third in a 2-horse race.
I was say Spurs only team to finish second in a 2-horse race.
Right, let's move on to discuss the locks and the wild card results, including the results from our second listener lock-in. Over to you, Sam.
Yeah, so on the locks this week, I think we got 50%, so, could be better. Skin, Sheffield United, always a pretty safe bet then, I guess. Obviously, Kempy went to see him. Maybe, what do you reckon to game Kempy?
We didn't play that well, to be fair. It sounds like we're in a bit of a downer there, but we actually didn't play that well.
Second person I've heard that from today.
Really?
So.
No, we really didn't play that well. First 20, 25 minutes, we were good. We were pretty much all over him. They scored just before half time, and then we thought, all right, we'll come out second half, play our stuff, keep possession. They're not really threatening very much. But, for the first sort of 30, 35 minutes after half time, we didn't have much of the ball. Stoke played a pretty nice football, kept the ball well, but they just didn't have that creative spark. Me and Dib were speaking to some Stoke fans in the pub after the game, and they were saying that was their problem all season. They'd not got a spark, and they'd not got anybody to put the ball in the back of the net. They'd got some good players that could hold possession well and could run the game, but they couldn't do anything with it, unfortunately. And then we caught them in the break and scored by the ex-Derby man, our right back, getting his brace, Jayden Bogle. So delighted with the result. Delighted with Jayden Bogle's performance, and Ellerman and Jai played unbelievably well as he always does. But wasn't a great performance. But hey, what's that? That's a mark of champions, isn't it? When you can not play well and still win comfortably in the end. So
absolutely.
Very, very quick question for Kemp. You mentioned talking to Stoke fans in the pub after the game. Did you, throughout the entire conversation, maintain pointing at your Stone Island badge?
I wasn't actually wearing my Stone Island
killer,
jumper, sweater. I've not actually worn my Stone Island sweater in probably about 2 years now.
Since we went to Sheffield and you went allowed in.
Yeah. I've always been scarred by that event. So I've kept that one in cupboard for a rainy day.
Fair enough, leave it. Sam, carry on, mate.
So I backed Burnley at home against Coventry. They obviously beat them by a 0-0. Again, another team that's quite safe on the old locks. Ag, mate, do you want to talk us through Stevenage?
Not really.
Do you want to talk us through fucking Sam's bet up again?
Look, my original choice was Burnley. It just seems to happen that over the last couple of weeks, my first choices have been taken. But Stevenage is second in League Two. They're a side in form. It's not like I've gone for bottom of the league, or it's not like I've gone for Forest again.
You've gone Notts Forest away, is it?
Exactly. Yeah. I've gone for Stevenage.
If only stop picking fucking away teams.
Away games.
Second
we keep
in
telling
League
you
Two.
this.
Yes, but they're second in League Two. They were
But
performing quite
listen
well.
to us, Ag. We're talking some sense here. We've got some results to
Right.
back ourselves up.
Steady
And
on, Sam. Steady on.
Right.
Yeah, maybe not Kem, yeah.
We keep telling you these away games are dodgy as fucking. You still keep backing him, and you still keep thinking, "Oh, I don't know how that one didn't come in." It's because the fucking home team can always pull a result out.
I
He's
respectfully
going away
disagree,
this
but on
week.
this occasion, I'm going away this week.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are.
Like,
Oh, for fuck's sake, he's
I
away
am,
to
first.
just to be
Newcastle.
that guy. I'm going away. Yeah. Whoever
Wolves away at
Newcastle's got,
City.
I ain't even looked. Newcastle have got City.
No, I'm saying you're going to back Wolves away at City
Oh,
for
right.
lock.
No, I'm not that bad. Forest, I'll go this week.
And and speaking of disasters, Mr. Kemp, how are you?
It was a bit of a disaster, wasn't it?
It
Yeah, I
was.
was checking the result while I was checking the score while I was at the game, and I think they went 1-0 down. And I went,
Do you just want to remind everyone of who he beat?
Yeah,
I
of
was
course.
absolutely fuming. Sorry, I had Exeter at home against Forest Green. Forest Green, who are, if not rock bottom, second bottom in League One, been absolutely piss poor all season. And I thought Exeter had run all over them, but I think they went 1-0 down, like I say. So that was a bit of a shocker. I was enjoying seeing they pulled a goal back, but having looked at the stats afterwards, I think Exeter had 2 shots on target and Forest Green had 1. So it sounded like a bit of a dull game. But locks aren't what I'm known for, though, is it? You know, when we get to wild cards, that's when I shine. So I'm not too fussed.
Hang on a
that's
minute.
true.
So he's gone for 10th place to win against bottom of the league. I've gone for 2nd place to win against 20th. I've got a load of shit for getting mine wrong. When second to beat 20th,
do you want
is
to know
much
the
more
very
realistic.
key difference? Do you want to know the key difference in our locks?
He knows the key difference.
Because it was
I
away
don't
from
think
home.
he does because he's not
Because it was
fucking
away
listening.
from home. I'm listening.
Exactly.
It's a load of bollocks.
But this is the problem, though. Adam is going to keep picking away teams to eventually, in fucking May or something, prove a point
I will.
that away teams can sometimes win.
Look, mate, a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah,
so
well, I'll get there.
The law of averages, you are going to get one eventually.
Look,
but
right, I
you're
said
going to
practically
cost a
nothing.
small fortune in the meantime.
Until we started taking a proper table for this, I was actually quite good at this. I was second more often than not.
Bitch.
Listen back to the old recordings; they're there for you. Second more often than not.
Touche.
Now we're taking points and keeping tallies, and I'm having a tough time of it. I'm getting shit for it, and I haven't said one thing to you or to Kemp at any point.
Mate, you can't say
good now, mate.
Now I can't. Now I can't.
Sam's on
but before I
91%
could.
success rate across the board this
The
year. What do you
nerve.
mean you've not said anything to Sam?
No. Before, when they were struggling and they weren't doing it, now we're taking note. I'm getting all the grief, and I said fuck all when they were struggling.
Warned you about this. This was the whole point of the spreadsheet.
Nah.
So you're accountable for your picks. That's why Kemp now takes half an hour a week with his readers on, researching and reviewing, instead of now just 3 minutes before recording going, oh shit, I ain't got a lock, and just closing his eyes and pointing on a team.
I've done more research this year for these locks than I did last year. So
that's more
that's
about
it.
you, Juno, than it
I'm
does
not
anybody
researching.
else.
I'm not researching. That's it. I'm just going to pick a team at random. Shut me.
Anyway, Sam, come on then. Let's get on to scorers.
Honestly, so scorers. None of us got picked a scorer, so I will forgive Skin.
Let rid of scorers then.
I will forgive Skin for this one. So Darwin Núñez didn't even make the matchday squad, so he is a void bet, as we know.
Should have gone Rashford.
Harry Kane, no good against Arsenal. Ross Stewart for Sunderland. That was a surprise result, I thought, as well.
Yeah,
and is it Sam Nombe, was it?
Sam Nom.
Yes. Sam Nombe.
I say Nom. It might not be Nom. It might be Nombe.
I've no idea, mate. I've no idea.
I believe it's Nom. I believe
he didn't score. Andy got a yellow card, so he can put that off.
Is that a void bet? Because Kemp said his name wrong, so we actually picked someone else.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah.
No, that's fine. So yeah, none of us got scorer on that one. So on to the wild cards then. This is actually pretty good. So once again, Skin has another void bet on Morecambe.
Yeah, it was due to the high winds on Friday caused damage to Cambridge's stadium, so had to be called off, unfortunately.
So we'll go straight to Ag then. Fantastic call. Brighton at home against Liverpool. What you got to say, piece in there?
I'm quite chuffed with that one. I actually
Good
thought
call,
about
mate.
that one
Good
quite
call.
well, so thank you.
What a performance from them, by the way.
Good chat. So myself, there was a bit of controversy here when I backed Manchester United, pipped in ahead. I think every single person in the chat.
Yeah.
Man United obviously at home against City. That was another big tick for me. And Mr. Kemp, he backed Forest at home against Leicester. And looking back now, you'd think, how on earth were Forest underdogs in that game? And it was a clinical 2-0 performance. What do you reckon, Ken?
That's it. No, I'm using the wild card definition to my
100%.
advantage.
Yeah, why not?
Nottingham Forest, I was very surprised when I was doing my research, were underdogs in that game. And going into it, I thought with all the injuries that Leicester had got and that Forest were on a pretty, half decent run apart from in the cup, I thought they looked pretty strong. So I was surprised that they were underdogs, but fuck it, I'll take the win. Thank you very much, Forest.
Yes, why not? So just to recap then on the football, Dawson, you got 1 right and 2 voids, so technically 100% there. Ag, how did you do there? 1 right, is that right?
1 out of 3, I think. Yeah.
1 out of 3. Yeah, sorry, it's because the tally's all it's a total, isn't it? Not just football. Kemp, how did you do, mate? You got
1 out of 3.
1 out of 3, same as Ag.
PB.
PB. Myself, I got 2 out of 3. Obviously, with the Ross Stewart letting me down on the scorer, as he did. All scorers let us down this week. So yeah, 2 out of 3 for myself. 1 out of 1 for Dawson. So not too bad for me and you, mate. But it's these pair in, isn't it?
That statement is true across the board, mate. I'm on, I think,
lowering the averages.
No, not true across the board at all. No, you wait until we get to the NFL segment later on.
Okay.
So yeah, Skin, do you want to take away the listener lock-in? How did they get on?
I do, mate. I'm not sure Jaso will want me to get into it, but he's not here. So Cameron week 1 kicked us off with a high bar of 1 correct answer after he got United to beat Everton 3-1 correct. Just a very we'll just go through one by one. Jay's lock of the week was Leyton Orient. Didn't win. They drew at home to Barrow 0-0. His scorer, which thankfully did take off me, was Chuba Akpom for Middlesbrough, who didn't score. His wild card was Blackpool to beat Watford. They didn't. He had Brighton and Liverpool to fight out a 2-2 draw. They didn't, as we know. He had United to lose 3-1 to City. They didn't. And he had Arsenal, which was probably his closest guess, to win 2-1 to Tottenham. And that 2-0 win, unfortunately, gets him across. So, Jaso, for week 2 of listener lock-in, gets himself a nice big fat 0. So obviously what we pick with the NFL included is slightly different to what the listeners pick. But year to date, I know it's only 2 weeks, but year to date, listeners' football success sits at 8%. And Loaded Sport, that's 1 out of 12, if you want the breakdown on that. 1 correct answer out of 12 possible. And Loaded Sport as a combination sits at 52%, and that includes Aggie's and Kemp's absolutely horrid success. So for those of you that listen and think, well, that's easy, it's not as easy as it looks. And I'm looking forward to see who can start to bring that 8% up a little bit closer to what we're achieving so far. I have reached out.
Who's next one, mate? Who's next one?
We've got Aaron Law joining us on Thursday. He's a big blade. So
Aaron, I'm talking directly to you, mate. Sorry for cutting you off, Skin.
No, go on.
Aaron, come on, mate. Let's raise this percentage up a bit, because right now you need to get 2 to get to be top of the leaderboard. So fuck me, mate. Come on. Please.
Fuck himself, Sam. These listeners are making me look brilliant.
I've seen Aaron today, and he's very, very, very excited. I know it's his Tuesday release. We're recording it Monday night, and he said he's already doing his research, or has been doing it. So hopefully he'll come ready for some success. Just before we close off on the listener lock-in results, I did reach out to Jay. I thought give him the opportunity to comment on his result, and he said that was a practice run. When am I actually on the show? So I don't think he realised that we were live and recording, but maybe next season, Jay, we'll do it again and give you another chance to beat that 0 out of 6. But thanks for coming on, mate. Really good talking to you.
Brilliant.
There we go. So we move on now, and in just a few moments' time, we'll be discussing the latest news coming out of the heavyweight division of UFC. Welcome back to episode 22 of Loaded Sport. We are now going to start discussing the latest news coming out of the UFC. So, Kemp, over to you.
Yeah, just thought I'd have a bit of a conversation with maybe you, Dawson, about the latest news about the heavyweight division.
Go for it, mate. What do you want to talk about?
Well, Francis Ngannou, the undisputed or former now UFC heavyweight champion of the world, has been released from his contract. He is no longer the UFC heavyweight champion of the world, and the title has now been vacated, which will be fought for by the former light heavyweight champion and considered one of the greatest in the game, if not of all time, John Jones, and former contender Cyril Gane. So, first of all, your reaction, and are you surprised as maybe a bit of an outsider to MMA and the UFC as to this news when you saw it?
100%, mate. The fact alone, well, even if he wasn't the heavyweight champion, it would still be a shock. But the fact that he currently holds that heavyweight title is massive, and it sends shockwaves throughout the whole division, really, doesn't it? Of what happens next. Like you say, they've already got the next lineup sorted for who will pick up that vacant title, but I personally don't really know the ins and outs. I've not seen Ngannou in a fight for ages. Last time I saw him was when he absolutely leathered Danger Aaron in Nakasaka in Jackass Forever. So, I'm not really sure what he's been up to since that. So, Kemp, obviously you'll know a bit more about the backstage stuff and sort of the reasons that have led to the news that came out over the weekend. But it's very shocking, mate. Very shocking indeed. And
so go on, sorry, after you.
No, I was just saying, like, where UFC is seen as the pinnacle of mixed martial arts, and he held the title, and for all his talents was probably one of the biggest drawing sort of fighters that they've got on the roster. So I'm interested and I'm intrigued to see what he looks at doing next.
Well, it's an interesting one on many levels, but I think just you mentioned the backstory there and what's been going on behind the scenes. Francis's last title defense was against Cyril Gane, and he defeated him by showing, an unbelievable wrestling performance, which nobody expected, seeing as though Francis Ngannou is a big, heavy-handed striker.
With his strikes,
That's it. So not a lot of people expected that, but he put in an unbelievable performance against a fantastic striker in Cyril Gane and got the win. After the fight, Dana White didn't put the belt round Francis Ngannou, which he usually does, which was a bit of a telling point that the relationship probably wasn't 100%. Since then, there's been rumours and rumblings that he's going to be signing a new contract, that there's sticking points, but it looks like it's going to get done, that the relationship is rebuilding itself, that it was Francis Ngannou's management that was the problem and they were difficult to work with and difficult to come to an agreement on. And then this news today, it has been drawn out a little bit. Francis had a surgery on, I think, one of his legs. That was injured before the Gane fight, so it did buy them a little bit of time. But the heavyweight division needs to move on, and Ngannou, from his side of things, is saying that it's more because they're down as independent contractors. They don't have health insurance. They don't have, he wants to see things like that being implemented into the UFC as an organisation. Dana White has come out and said that it's more of a money thing and that they offered Francis more money than they've offered any other heavyweight, including Brock Lesnar.
I saw that.
That he turned down the deal. So there's mixed reports depending on whose side you believe. But what we do know is that Francis has relinquished the heavyweight title and he is now a free agent. And I think that's what Francis ultimately did want, unless the UFC came to him with a ridiculous offer. I think this is the way that it was always going to go. Francis has always said that he wants to do crossover boxing. He wants to make a lot of money.
It's funny you should say that, because I was going to say, like, what do you think of his potential in boxing with, as you mentioned there, his background or his biggest strengths or what he's most well known for is him being on his feet and his striking. Has he got the potential to move into the boxing world potentially?
He's got the potential to move into the boxing world, most definitely. He's got he's very, very heavy-handed. He's one of the hardest punchers in the entire world, regardless of the sport of MMA or boxing. I think he once did a punch test where, a punch power test. And I think the result was that it was like being hit by a Ford SUV. So he's got an unbelievably powerful punch. But when it comes to boxing, he started in boxing, but then transitioned to MMA, and he's 36. It's not as if he's going to be coming and learning how to, learning the sweet science and how to split punches and, fighting like Tyson Fury. So yes, he could definitely be a massive showcase attraction in like an exhibition event, or there's so much crossover boxing these days. It's a perfect time for Francis to make that transition. But against any world class boxers, I think Francis would struggle, which is why it sort of doesn't make all the sense in the world for me that he's done what he's done. But Francis at the end of the day wanted that freedom more than anything else, and now he's got that freedom to go and have those exhibition fights, to go and star in movies whenever he wants, to sign massive deals. He's already got a deal with Gymshark for clothing, sign massive, sponsorship deals and what have you. So I'm happy for Francis. I'm happy that he's got the freedom that he so desired. And now we've got John Jones versus Cyril Gane for the heavyweight title. In May, I think it is, or March. So that's going to be a very interesting fight, and it's the March the 4th. It is, and we shall see. Can John Jones be a 2-weight world champion? Can he be the greatest in the world and the greatest maybe of all time? We shall see. But it's very interesting times in the UFC, and watch this space.
Lads, thank you very much. We'll be back in just a few moments' time to discuss wildcard weekend of the National Football League. Welcome back to episode 22 of Loaded Sport. We're now going to break down wildcard weekend of the NFL season, starting with the Vikings against the Giants in the NFC.
Whoa. Rewind. Adam, please may you address them by their full title, please.
The Minnesota Vikings and the New York Football Giants.
There it is.
Correct. Thank you for addressing my team in the way that they deserve. They deserve all the respect after the weekend.
Take it away, mate.
Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll leading the Giants to the first playoff win in since God were a kid.
Super Bowl win.
Divisional, fucking way, yeah. I mean, divisional round. I'm so delighted. I'm so happy. I've not been this happy to be a Giants fan since I started being a Giants fan. Absolutely delighted. I said to all you boys that if we beat the Vikings, that would sort of be, I'd be happy with that. I want more.
For it.
I want more. I've got taste for it, and I want a little bit more. I mean, what more can I say? Daniel Jones, 301 yards, two touchdowns, no interceptions. He's a different quarterback than the one that we drafted from Duke all those years ago, in that horrendous draft.
On Daniel Jones, I've got a question for you with him. I just obviously pre-season the Giants declined to pick up his 5th-year option. Obviously, they had every right to. Let's be fair, not really shown anything up until that point that he could be capable of being a franchise quarterback. He's had a hell of a season. He's just beat the Vikings in Minneapolis. Does he deserve to be re-signed by the Giants?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Yeah. He wasn't, when he wasn't playing particularly well, he wasn't a good quarterback by any means necessary. He wasn't a train wreck. There was little bits and pieces there that you could say, okay, you can work on that. We can improve on that. And
it wasn't bad, was he? It was just nothing.
No, he wasn't a bad quarterback. He was just a meh. He's just a, he is what he is, middle of the road type of thing. But his performances this season, especially in when the lights were bright in the playoffs, his first playoff game, his first postseason game, biggest game of his career so far, and he absolutely showed out. Like I say, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns. He little trick plays, pretending to throw the ball and putting it behind his back.
So nice.
They're calling it the Statue of Liberty play.
I like it. And I'll be breaking that one out on Super Bowl Sunday when we go and have a game. But he knew when to go. He knew when to make a play. He knew when to use his feet, which we all know he's pretty good at. He's one of the best rushing quarterbacks in the league this season, I think.
100%.
78 yards from 17 rushing attempts from that. DJ was our lead rusher once again. And that's not disparaging Barkley because he got 2 touchdowns, but Daniel Jones was just so effective in the run. And we saw Minnesota, they struggled to cope with it. They struggled to cope with, did they go zone? Did they did they go man? Did they put in a QB spy? And it gives you that option that a lot of other quarterbacks don't. So, yeah, we definitely pick him up. We definitely pay the man. And I think, coming off of one season where he's been successful, I'm not sure we'd have to pay him a ridiculous amount either.
That's a good point.
A lot of quarterbacks get these days. So he's a no-brainer for me. Let's pay him. Let's pay Saquon. Let's pay DJ, and let's build these franchise around these 2 players because, unbelievable performance, unbelievable win. I was so happy to see the Giants play as well as we did, and not just those players as well. It gives me so much hype and happiness to say Isaiah Hodgins, 8 receptions, 105 yards and a touchdown. Darius Slayton, he struggled a little bit, and that catch at the end of the game, he should have won that. He should have made that catch, and we should have won the game there. Could we have been talking about a different story? Perhaps, but we're not. So, Darius Slayton with 88 receiving yards, Barkley with 56, Richie James with 31 receiving yards. So everybody played their part, and Dexter Lawrence, my God.
I'm glad you brought him up.
Animal he is.
The man, the myth, the legend that
created
the select.
My goodness, Dexter Lawrence. I mean, what an unbelievable performance he had. And you can't grumble at that for 1 second. So what an all-round unbelievable performance from the New York Giants. What a team performance. What a service they've paid Dayball in all the work that he's done, and Shane as well, the GM, and very, very happy to be a Giants fan tonight, boys.
So you've kind of perfectly put me onto a segue there, mentioning your GM. So, question to you again, Ken. I'm going to come straight back to you with it being the Giants. I think you deserve to have the most chat on this. David Gettleman. Now then, does he deserve some credit for this? Dan Jones, Saquon, Dexter Lawrence are all his players. He has brought in probably 90% of that current 53-man roster. He can put a roster together, it seems. It needed somebody else to kind of play with it, if that makes sense. So what do you reckon? Do you reckon David Gettleman actually deserves some credit after all this?
You can't say he doesn't, can you? You literally can't say he doesn't. Some of the decisions, the footballing decisions that have been made in the franchise for the past few years have been horrific. The head coaching gig, it's been given to coaches that have never had a head coaching gig in their life. Got a bloody tight end coach from Patriots last year. So, it's there've been some very questionable decisions in that regard. And these players, when we've drafted them, they've looked questionable ever since because they've not had the right coaching. But you mentioned there Dexter Lawrence, Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, all Gettleman picks, and they are all looking like fantastic New York Giants players. So you have to give credit where
Thomas
credit's
as well,
due.
left tackle. Left tackle had a shocker of a rookie year, but he's been absolutely brilliant. Second team All Pro this year.
Absolutely. But then you've also got to look at Shane and Evan Neal and Thibodeau, that both look like, very decent picks as well. So I think Gettleman deserves some credit, but, am I saying that I'd rather get Gettleman back than Joe Shane?
No.
Absolutely not. And we've made, thank you for those picks, David Gettleman. You've done us a service there, but the future looks really bright with a new GM, new head coach, and a new bright team. So thank you, Gettleman. But we're moving on. Thank you.
Gettleman walked so Shane could run.
That's it. Absolutely correct, and fair play to him.
Okay, next up we look at the early game on Saturday. The San Francisco 49ers beating the Seattle Seahawks 41.
What did you reckon, Ag? Obviously, your boys in that one. How did your experience go down? Talk us through it.
We were very slow getting started. I think we left it a little bit too late to really get things going. I think the first 3 drives we ended up punting twice. I think one was an interception from Gino as well. We know San Fran are a very strong side. We know that they're very good, and we couldn't keep giving them the ball as easy as we were doing. It was just nothing seemed to click on offense. Then we started to get things going, and I think at the half, Shanahan just turned around and says, "Right, let's stop fucking about with him now. Let's get this game done."
I think that's exactly what happened, really. DK though, fair play, DK. He had a bit of a beast game, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He got 136 yards, I think it were in total, 2 touchdowns.
Two touchdowns, yeah.
He was definitely Gino's favourite target, and considering all season he's been like leaning a little bit further back on tight ends and the usage of like Noah Fant and Parkinson, the fact that both DK and Lockett got involved in the game, and I think that's something that we really do need to utilise more moving forward.
Yeah.
This year we've had Kenneth Walker, and don't get me wrong, he's been phenomenal. He's
he
been
looks a player.
such a good breakout player for us this year. But I think we need to get DK and Lockett more involved with the passing game. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to struggle. Those two are incredible talents that we're just not utilising at the moment. And then I think the rest of it just goes pretty much straightforward, wasn't it? I know you guys. I think you guys said to me that at one point, I think you all predicted that San Fran were going to win by 2, maybe 3 scores at some point when we did the little score lines.
Yeah.
And I know I was being silly by saying the Seahawks to win, but you're in playoff football, you got to back your boys, haven't you? So I went with that, and more fool me.
Kills you.
It is, yeah, it is. But at the end of the day, look, we weren't ever supposed to be in the playoffs. At the beginning of the season, nobody thought we were going to be in the playoffs. Nobody thought we were going to be second in our own in the NFC West. So the fact that we got to the playoffs with Gino, who everybody wrote off, the fact that we've still got a top 5 draft pick, where I think it's 20th, depending on what happened between Cowboys and the Bucks as well. We've got a very exciting future, some incredible rookies that performed for us this season. So we lost to San Fran quite heavily, but look, they're a very strong side, and I think they're going to go all the way to the Super Bowl.
How good was CMC, by the way? That trade seems to be paying dividends, doesn't it?
We said it at the time, didn't we? If he could stay fit,
yeah.
That was all it came down to. We knew we say we knew, which obviously we don't at the time, but we said at the time he is literally perfect for that scheme.
Yeah.
When he's played, he's produced no matter what system or what players he's had around him. It was just about whether he could stay healthy, and he stayed perfectly healthy. And other than his first game that he was officially with the Niners, where he didn't really play a lot, to be fair, he only had a few carries. They lost that game, but every game since where he has been heavily featured, they've won every single game. So what a trade by Lynch to go out there and make it happen. It's not often you see an absolute superstar of that caliber get traded, especially mid-season. So full credit to them, and that could be the turning point, because they were 3-4 at one point. That could be the sort of pivotal moment, or the thing that you look back on as to what did the Niners do to turn that season into a Super Bowl winning season. That's the turning point at the moment.
I think they're on like 11 consecutive wins, and this is the first year, because you guys have been watching the NFL longer than I have, so this is the first year I've really got to see anything from CMC, because he has been quite injury prone. So all I've really had is you guys telling me, look, when he's healthy, he is an extremely good player. He's probably one of the best running backs, if not the best running back.
It's probably top 3 back in the league when he's fit.
There you go.
And there's an argument he's going number one every year in fantasy.
Yeah, well, there you go. And he performed again extremely well against us. We've got a poor run defense, so that's something that we really need to focus on again in the draft, and a couple of free agency signings if the correct personnel become available. But now we've got to face him twice a year. It worries me a bit more. But what also worries me is I was a bit optimistic, thinking we might have to go up against Trey Lance, but Brock Purdy again pulled it out of the bag.
I'm glad you brought him up, because I'm going to say actually kudos to Dawson here. So if we'll hark back a month or month and a half, 2 months maybe, Jimmy G goes down injured. We're all sat here speculating, suggesting who they should pick up in free agency. Baker Mayfield at the time had just become available. We're all saying, should they go for him? Probably yes. Dawson, to be fair, he said, don't be so sure. Niners are really high on Brock Purdy. And I mean, we can see exactly why they were high on Brock Purdy, because Mr. Irrelevant, absolutely not. He's just been a steady, not even steady hand, has he? He's been pretty lights out, actually.
Mate, some of the stuff, did you see some of the plays? He was scrambling, he was all over the place, but he managed to pull off passes to McCaffrey and to Eli Mitchell to get
passes under big pressure. And
it's supposed to be one of the hardest jobs in world, quarterback in the NFL, and he's just come in and just taking the piss
he's
out of the
making it look
league.
like Mudging Riddins, mate. Honestly, he's been fantastic.
And I like you just said then, credit to Skim, because I thought they'd have stuck with Purdy simply because they wouldn't have looked to pick anyone else up for the sake of the end of the season. But I thought it'd been the opposite direction, and he was just going to suck, and it meant that we were going to walk away with the NFC West. They weren't going to make the playoffs, and everything else is history. They get ready to go again next year. But no, he's unbeaten, isn't he, as a quarterback? So
he is.
Fair play to him. So yeah, that concludes the talk between the Niners and the Seahawks. We prepare for another season.
Can I just very quickly say, because of what you said there, I said to Mudge over the weekend, while the Niners game was on, that I'm backing, not backing, as in, I think Niners will win. So I think the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl, as I said. But I'll be supporting the Niners, and that's because there's a lot of players there that I think I would like to see, like CMC. I'd love to see him win a ring, Kittle, and a lot of other players, but a rookie's never won the Super Bowl. A rookie's never taken their team to the Super Bowl, I don't think. So what an incredible story. And Sam, we always talk about America's Game, and it's the best sporting documentary. He's got to be part of that panel, hasn't he? Of
course he has.
Mr. Irrelevant, rookie pick. Nobody saw him playing at any point in the season, barring a disaster, which obviously happened in the end. But what a story. So I think for me, Niners have got to be getting a neutral support at this point, just purely for the news that will come out of it. But yeah, what a guy, and we'll see how they play on at the weekend.
Absolutely, it's all right. The late night Saturday, early Sunday morning game, I don't know how you look at it, was between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Chargers. And I said I'm going to take a bit of credit for this because it's about the only thing I've managed to predict that's come right, and that's that I said it was going to be a high-scoring game. And
can I just one up you on that and say Sam had Jags to win by 1?
Thank you, mate. Thank you. I was going to bring it up myself, but I'm glad I had
to. What was the score, Adam, in the end?
It finished Jaguars 31, Chargers 30.
Wow,
what a game!
Wow, 27-0.
I was going to say that doesn't tell the story, does it?
Chargers 27-0 up. Trevor Lawrence just had an absolute shit show of a first half. Threw 4 interceptions by half time. 3 of them went to Asante Samuel Jr. Bless him. I bet he's thinking he's bringing this dub home to.
He's got the headlines, hasn't he?
Yeah, taking it back to LA. But now it completely changed in the second half. I didn't watch it, I must admit. So as you say, with it being a late game, I just picked up on the highlights and couldn't believe when I checked the score in the morning. I thought, 30-31, good game. Actually dived into it a little bit more. I thought, Jesus Christ, how have they pulled that one off? It's Doug Pederson, isn't it? It's I always want to call him Peterson for some reason. Doug Pederson is. I think he said after the game, it's the second greatest win of his coaching career. Obviously, number one being
after Eagles.
Eagles Super Bowl. So yeah, fair play to Jags. They didn't quit. On the highlights, I must admit, because obviously knowing the scores as I'm watching it, I'm noticing the fans, and I'm thinking, at what point do the fans start leaving? Getting fucked off the 27-0 down. And I don't think I've seen one fan leave. Every time they went to the next highlight, it was still packed. Duval County, as they say, just fully backing the team, and then they reap the rewards.
Yeah, definitely. And you see that 27-0 down, Lawrence throwing 4 interceptions in the first half, as you said, and you think there must have been something epic that led to that comeback. And to be honest, it wasn't necessarily the case for this game. It was more just 3 or 4 individual plays that really changed the momentum and the where the rest of the game led to. Chargers missed a field goal, and a relatively easy one to make in the second half. If that goes through, that changes the dynamic yet again of giving them an extra 3 points on the board. Chargers defense got very, very tired, and Lawrence started pinging balls all across the field to Engram, to Zay Jones, to Christian Kirk. He threw 4 touchdown passes to 4 individual players. And they really took advantage of the hard work that Chargers defense are putting in the first half. That started to catch up on a little bit as the game went on. And also as well, I think the key play for that game was a 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter, where it looked like they were set up for a quarterback sneak or an inside run. They'd lined up 3 backs. Trevor Lawrence handed it off to Travis Etienne for an outside run for 25 yards. So we know Pederson, as we know with that Philly performance in the Super Bowl, calling the Philly special, the absolute fucking stones on him to call that play.
Yeah.
But just as much so for that 4th and 1 run to run it outside, where it would have just taken one player to spot what was happening and make the tackle, and it'd be pretty much game over. They could have gone for the sneak. Trevor Lawrence is very good at that. He's a tall quarterback. They had big backs lined up to make that inside run and just pound it through for that yard to get the first down. So to make that call and it to pay off as it did, you've got to love the fucking courage and the stones on the guy to make that call in such a pivotal moment. So yeah, brilliant from Lawrence, brilliant from the whole Jags team, to be fair. But yeah, I think it was just 3-4 individual plays throughout that second half that really defined the final result.
And I think they've essentially created the blueprint for how they take into net. And obviously, we're going to save this for Thursday, obviously the preview show, should I say? But they've kind of created a blueprint now for how they can beat Patrick Mahomes. Herbert had 4 possessions in that second half, just didn't see the ball. And yeah, I think one thing they can't do is they can't let the Chiefs run out to an early lead like they did against the Chargers, because the Chiefs ain't the Chargers. The Chargers are soft. We know this, and they have been for years and years. So does Brandon Staley deserve to stay on? That's probably a conversation for another day, maybe. But
well, we've spoke about it briefly today, haven't we? And I'll just sort of headline it really. But that squad is an elite squad, and if it's going to benefit from that with the small window that NFL teams have for success, it needs an elite coach. And yeah, he's done really well in the past. It's early in the regular season, he seems to love going for it on 4th and 1 and being really successful. But as the season goes on, they seem to get less and less. Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I think that elite squad deserves an elite coach with history of success. So yeah, maybe it's time for him to move on.
Maybe so. Moving on to Sunday evening. I think it was the first game Sunday evening. The Buffalo Bills 34, the Miami Dolphins 31, and there have been some talking points on the back of this. No more than Skylar Thompson.
Wow, unbelievable! Absolutely unbelievable.
Taking the game to Buffalo. This is one that I did sit down and watch and thoroughly enjoyed, to be fair, from a neutral perspective, because me and Eleanor had a discussion about this, and I said to her that I don't think I'd be that interested in it. The Bills are going to win without Tua, without Teddy. It's a foregone conclusion. It's going Buffalo's way, and it did, but it probably should have gone more so on paper. But we know games aren't won on paper in the NFL anyway. And Thompson put in an excellent performance, led Miami quite nicely. I think as an entire Miami team, to be fair, the defense stepped up and forced Buffalo into so many areas. I think there was a couple of interceptions in the first half, fumbles that Josh Allen lost as well, that normally you just wouldn't have expected from a quarterback of his caliber. So I think
it looked like the old Josh Allen, just giving takeaways left, right, and centre, just chucking the ball anywhere. Fumbles coming out. I think he gave the ball away 4 times, didn't he?
Yeah, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles lost, and yeah,
can't do that.
Before the season started, I sat down and said the Bills are going to win. And Skin, I think I've been in quite a few leagues with you this season. I put so much stock in Stephon Diggs having an incredible season, and I thought they're going to do so well.
You put so much stock in him in every league you were in, mate.
I did. Every league I went, Stephon Diggs. But to get to the Super Bowl, I think to even get over the next hurdle, the Bills need to be so much better than they were against the Dolphins.
100%.
I think they got a bit lucky.
I said it when we did the quick fire predictions at the end of the preview show last week. I said Bills by 10, but I said that I think Bills will be comfortable, but that won't necessarily show in the scoreboard. That they were playing against Skylar Thompson. Tua was out, and we know that offense is going to be so much different, with those 2 at quarterback. So part of Allen's performance, I think, was down to complacency, because for a lot of that game, let's be honest, it didn't look like they were going to need to get out of second gear. I think mainly for the first half. So I think that does come down to some of it, because I didn't think Bills would absolutely blow them out in terms of just dominating them. It would just be more of get the result, avoid injuries, move on to the next game. So yeah, 100%. They're now facing one of the informed teams in the Bengals, as we know. They've got to step up, but I do expect them to be back to, certainly towards their very best. Now they know they've got to be on it. They can't afford any mistakes.
One thing go on, Kempy. Go on, mate. No, you're right.
I've got a question on the Buffalo Bills, and this is I'm opening it up to sort of anyone here, and you might be able to see where I'm going very early on. How do you think Josh Allen has looked this season compared to previous seasons? And do you think it's anything to do with the fact that the best coach in all of football is no longer his offensive coordinator?
Yeah. I think McDermott is historically a defensive coach. Am I right? I might be getting that wrong. So 100% losing the greatest coach in the NFL, trademarked by Kem.
Thank you.
The self-proclaimed at Ben Musgrove is 100% going to have an impact. But He's not been as good, but he's still been very good. I'll keep it at that.
Yeah, I mean, 35 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. The interceptions are definitely higher than they probably should be. A quarterback of his caliber, I'd probably expect a few less than that. But I would say there has been a slight decline. I think everyone had got the preseason him as MVP, Buffalo to win the Super Bowl. I think that was pretty much
He was the poster boy, weren't he, for the league?
Unanimous. I think that was on pundits and average Joe on the street. We're all saying the same. So yeah, I think Daboll leaving has had a bigger impact than probably thought they would have. Just want to go back to the game though. Clock management. What the hell was that about with the Dolphins? So I think something like that. Obviously, so they had about 5 delay of games. They had the last delay of game. They kept calling timeouts just in time to catch him, and then obviously they ran out of timeouts in the end. I think they used all 3 timeouts to stop delay of games. Then obviously it come right down to it. There was about 8 seconds left, and they just couldn't get the snap off in time. Flag comes out. All of a sudden, instead of 4th and 2, it's 4th and 7, and they're behind the chains, and it's game over from that point. They lost by 3 points. That could have cost them the game if they didn't have them flags. They could have quite easily gone down, especially because they were just before the midfield, I think, in their own half. So
yeah, that definitely... 4th and 1 right at the end, where it ended up being a 4th and 6 because they were all just stood about. Not.
I think a lot of it. They were saying a lot of it went down to the atmosphere, and that proves just how big home advantage is in the playoffs, isn't it? Because I think what they were saying, and I saw an interview afterwards with Josh Allen talking about the fact that a lot of the delay of games looked to have come from the fact that they just couldn't snap the ball, and the centre couldn't hear the snap from
it's just
Thompson.
It's not excusable football in the playoffs. You've got to be well drilled, well versed on the silent count. Teams, it should be a second nature to teams to go into a team and just not hear anything. It's called, like I say, it's called a silent count. The centre has the ball, is looking between his legs, and he's waiting for the quarterback to do that little kick out he does, just to so that he knows when to stop. Sometimes they'll stand there and clap the ball if they start to panic a bit, but normally it's that back leg kick they do, and that's the signal to snap the ball. There wasn't any of that, and McDaniel for me has to take a lot of this heat because he knows he's dealing with a third string quarterback now. Apparently, there was issues actually getting him the correct calls and correct plays. So you're instantly hampering that third string quarterback, and when you know the third string quarterback, it's got Skylar Thompson. Put some respect on his name, to be fair. He's going to have issues reading out the plays. He's going to. It's his first actual game. It's facing live bullets. So you've got to then account for that. Simplify your plays for him and just try and take as much responsibility away from that young quarterback as you can. And I think McDaniel should have a lot to answer for that because it just didn't help him as much as he could have done.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment of it. Moving on to Sunday night's game, the Cincinnati Bengals beating the Baltimore Ravens by 24 points to 17.
Big game, big divisional game. These two teams just don't like each other, do they? Really don't like each other. Not Patrick Peterson, Peters and Chase. They've been keeping me on that for a while now. They just really don't seem to like each other. They're constantly niggling all the way through the game. And I think what the game essentially boiled down to was just piss poor play calling from John Harbaugh. They got the ball on
not according to him.
Yeah, it won't be according to him, will it? Trying to chuck his fucking quarterback under the bus. So it's 3rd and 1 at the goal line. And for some stupid reason, the play call was a QB sneak, and it was the QB just to dive full stretch. It was a good yard as well. It was like almost 2 yards, I think. It weren't inches. It was closer to 2 yards than it was being inches. And obviously, he's gone over the top. So unsecure the football is. The defense has knocked it out, and the rest is history. As he's gone, what's the name?
Sam Hubbard.
Hubbard, of course it is. It's gone storming down the other end of the field. He's needed oxygen after he's done. Bless him. But it's just a bad play call for me. I love the old-fashioned dunking style. We've seen Trevor Lawrence do it the night before. We've seen Andrew Luck do it in the playoffs forward, reaching over and dunking. But in that situation, that should only be done when there's no other option for me. So Trevor Lawrence did it on a 2-point conversion. So if he didn't get it, it wouldn't matter. Andrew Luck did it. It was a fumble. He's recovered it and dunked it over. So it's an impromptu play. That was 3rd down. So they had another chance after that to make another play. Why not give it J.K. Dobbins, who had been absolutely on a fucking tear all game, I think he touched the ball in the red zone. I think he was on the actual field in the red zone 4 occasions in that second half, and he only seen the ball once, and that went for a touchdown. The rest of the times he just didn't get a look in. So John Harbaugh, for me, he has a lot to answer to. The game was tied when they went for it on a 3-point on the third and a long one. So it was tied at 17, essentially giving a 14-point swing when it could have been 7 for them. Instead, it's 7 for the opposition, and it's lost them the game. So yeah, for me, John Harbaugh, a lot to answer to for that one.
Okay, that concludes the wildcard games that have taken place so far. Looking forward to discussing on Thursday the build-up to the divisional round, including, of course, the Giants against the Philadelphia Eagles. So,
can't wait.
whilst we look towards the locks that take place on Thursday, let's have a look at the locks and the wildcards that took place this past weekend, Sam.
Yeah, so of course, just a reminder, we were free to pick. You know, we could tread on each other's toes this week, with it being a very condensed fixture list. Is condensed the right word, or is that?
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it.
So we'll start with Mr. Dawson. 3 out of 3.
Hello.
What's talk me through it, mate?
3 out of 3. What were it? Niners, CMC, and Jags, weren't it? What can I say, mate? My results speak for themselves. Not as much as you like, but I'll certainly take a very, very, very distant second place ahead of Aggie and Kemp. So no, mate, I'm happy. You can't not be with 3 out of 3. I've got my picks ready for this weekend, and I've got a couple in there that might get a little
really?
As a
Is it?
So I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to getting to that. My score, I've not even prepped a backup because I think I should be clear, and it should get a nice discussion out of it.
You're going to Tuba Hubbard?
It is actually.
I'm glad you brought that up because I do have a suggestion to make actually regarding scorers. But yeah, so just a reminder, that was Skin with the Niners, CMC, and the Jags. So 3 ticks for him, quality from him. Ag, we'll move on to you, mate. You got 2 out of 3, so you got the Bengals. Well done.
Thank you.
Finally getting a lot right. You went
that way
for
passive aggressive.
Austin Eckler, which is just absolutely money, isn't he? Despite losing, he's always a solid bet.
Al Michael said he's a magnet for the end zone, which
I think is a
good way of summing him up.
Big fan of that. I think the only time he'd woke up, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, yeah.
So bad. Like the
Martin Tyler. Yeah.
And then the final one, Ag, obviously, you had your little bit of, I think, you had your blinkers on there. You went for your boys, the Hawks, for your wild card, and of course that didn't come in.
And this is why I don't do it. I told you all that I don't back Seahawks, England, or Chesterfield.
No one forced you.
No, I know nobody forced me. I just thought, it's playoffs any given Sunday. Why not? Why not back
Did you have anyone prepped and you just got carried away with the moment and went for Hawks, or?
No, it was Hawks. I literally had it written down, just saying, and I had it planned for a couple of days, thinking, how the fucking hell am I going to sell this? And I just put go Hawks and thought, you know what? They're my team, they're my boys, why not? And I didn't realistically think we were going to beat the Niners, but, you're in the playoffs, you always have that little bit about you that thinks, what if? And it didn't happen, but we go again next year.
And if it makes you feel better, mate, just very quickly, if it makes you feel better, you don't have to worry about how you're going to sell or justify your wild cards because you're spending enough time doing it about your locks. So,
just going to say, and them reasons are exactly why your scores are so shit. So moving on to Kempy. Now then, moving on to Kempy. Let's listen to this. Kemp went for the Niners. Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You then backed CMC for a touchdown scorer.
Yeah.
Listen to our pub view. And the third and final one was the New York Football Giants.
Oh, baby! Yeah.
To me, that's 3 ticks, mate. Talk us through it.
3 out of motherfucking 3. So I've got the NFL down. That's sorted. So the NFL we're good now. So for the rest,
shame it's about done now.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Whenever we're picking NFL picks in the future, I know I'm going to get 3 out of 3 there. That's fine.
Love that.
So now I just need to focus on football. But yeah, no. Delighted. Thank you very much. I feel like I'm in elite company today.
Rubbing shoulders.
Rubbing shoulders with greats. And Adam, you fucking peasant, you stay where you are.
Mate, there's one in it. Shut up.
I'm with the big boys now. I'm too good for you now. We've left you behind. So off we go to the moon.
You enjoy your weeks in the big time.
And then fourth and final is myself, and I got 3 of 3, of course, I did. Went for the Buffalo Bills because I know
Put
everyone.
me, I
had
go
jumped.
absolutely mad. It sounds like, yeah, of course I did. Wow,
He's
yeah.
used to it,
Wow, I
mate.
don't know.
Novelty's
Yeah,
wore off.
that's it. Yeah.
Reality. I went for the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, everyone kind of jumped on the Niners for the lock, so I did, except for Ag. But I did want to kind of pivot on that one, so I went for the Bills. Got the tick there, just about. Went for playoff Gabe Davis. Me and Skin had a bit of a conversation about, obviously, Skin had him in his fantasy team. It had been just an absolute roller coaster, up and down and inconsistent. And it did come through for me in an unbelievable touchdown catch on the backside there. And my wild card was the Jags. And obviously, I backed them to win by 1 as well, which they did, 30-31. So I can't moan at all with my performance this week, I must say.
5 out of 6, mate. You're at 11 out of 12 year to date, 91% success rate. No, sorry, you're 10 out of 11 because your scorer was annoyed last week. So yeah, 91% success. I very much believe that will start declining as the year goes on. But
so.
If it doesn't, mate,
but while it's here, mate, I'm milking it.
Enjoy it, mate. I wish you'd milk me, but yeah, you're having an absolute storming start to the year, and to say that your New Year's resolution was to get at least one lock right. To say you're at 10 out of 11 for all picks, including wildcards, 2 weeks in, mate, you're absolutely smashing. I'm looking forward to hearing who you've got planned for this upcoming weekend.
Yes, I've already started looking now.
There we go. Lads, thank you very much. But that is all we've got time for this week on episode 22 of Loaded Sport. Make sure you're joining us as we release the preview show heading into the divisional round